You're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 238. Today is Pay It Forward Friday.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Men of Abundance with Wally Carmichael. You must be prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What is going on, all of you amazing, abundant leaders out there? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community, where we are proving to you that you can, in fact, live your life of abundance starting today. Well, it takes a little bit of a process. It's not an overnight thing, but it does take a mindset. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about improving. I'm all about growing. I'm all about making more money. I'm all about contributing more to others in various ways in time, treasures, and talents. And more importantly, I'm all about living today and not waiting for tomorrow. Someday is not a day on the calendar. So today's episode is what I refer to as Pay It Forward Friday. When I lived in Hawaii, I used to call it Pay It Forward Aloha Friday, which was really cool. So I just took out the aloha. But this is the day where I basically talk about it's just me. I'm going to talk to you for about usually 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on what I feel like, and just sharing some really good content with you based on some thoughts that are going on in my head that I just have to get out, and something that's been going on in my life this week, this month, or whatever, something that I just feel might benefit you based on some feedback that I'm getting from each of you. And more on feedback in just a minute. But all other episodes throughout the week are interview episodes where I'm interviewing other amazing, abundant leaders, usually men, occasionally ladies as well, because let's face it, men, we have a lot to learn from women, and women, you have a lot to learn from men as well. So I interview some amazing, abundant leaders out there, ask them what their kick in the gut moment is, and learn from that, and then find out how they're paying it forward somehow within the community with either their books, their courses, just speaking, or just being who they are, being dads, being parents, being contributors to the community. Now, before we get into today's conversation, today's content, what I want to do is share with you this new app that I've been using, and I'm absolutely loving it. I get no kickback off of this. They're not a sponsor. I just like sharing amazing things with people when I find them. And I was introduced to this by Chris Krimitsos, who is going to be at PodFest. In fact, he's the creator of this whole PodFest thing going on next weekend. And I meet with him once a month here at our Florida Podcasters group out here in Tampa area. But he introduced me to Himalaya. And Himalaya is this new podcast app that allows you to actually leave comments on each individual episode, which is really cool because then I can comment back, other people can chime in, and I just think it's brilliant. On top of that, there are other features I just learned from Karen Schwab, who is Tom Schwab's wife, and together they have Interview Valet. You've heard me talk about Interview Valet before, and she shared with me that you can actually, as a listener, you can go on and leave a tip, and I mean a monetary tip, not just a verbal tip like helping me out, which I welcome as well, but a monetary tip on the podcast if you choose to do so. If you're really getting a lot of good content, you're really enjoying what's going on, instead of going to Patreon or something like that, you can go to Himalaya, subscribe to Men of Abundance, listen to a couple episodes, and if you feel so inclined to leave a tip, a monetary tip, I welcome that as well, because that helps me keep the mic on. So go download Himalaya on your podcast player. Himalaya is spelled Himalaya. And they are going to be a sponsor at PodFest this weekend as well. And they're throwing a huge party for us amazing podcasters. So if you want to be abundant in your life today and pay it forward, either share Men of Abundance with everyone in your circle, or now you can even go to Himalaya. You can share from right there, and you can leave a tip. I wonder who's going to be the first one. Is it you? Anyway, I greatly appreciate you sharing Men of Abundance with others. They will thank you as well. And if you're so inclined to leave a tip, greatly appreciate that as well. Now, let's talk about these 5 elements that I mentioned to mastery and abundance. So mastery and abundance is actually 2 of them. So that's why I just threw that up there. But the bottom line is this. This is how I see it, and this is how I've made it happen in my life. The first thing you have to have in my mind towards abundance and mastery of your skills in your field, whatever that is you first have to have faith. Now, yeah, you can have faith in God, 100%. Totally believe that. You should have faith in God. But also, you have to have faith in yourself. God has to have faith in you as well. It goes both ways. You have faith in God. God has faith in you that you're going to do the right thing and you're going to use the skills, the God-given skills that you've learned over the course of time that has been handed down by your maker, and contribute to others and share that knowledge with others. And a lot of people have a hard time putting themselves out there, whether it's in a job, whether it's playing guitar for the first time in front of a group of people and sharing your amazing skill in doing that. A lot of people simply do not have faith in themselves that they can do well enough that will please other people. And part of the thing here is also worrying about what other people are going to think about you. But if you're an entertainer, for instance, or if you're in any sort of industry like that where the feedback from your audience or the feedback from people is important, then of course it's important for you to be concerned about what other people are going to think about your skill and about your abilities. But before you can step out on the stage, before you can reach out to somebody and mentor them, before you can walk into a new job and show your boss, show your employees, show your staff what you're made of and what your skills are, you first have to have the faith that you can do it. Now, I've seen people talk about this before, and they have it turned around, because a lot of people tell you, well, you have to gain confidence. You have to have confidence in yourself. But here's the thing. You get confidence from the next element. The next element is action. The only way you can get confidence in any skill, regardless of what it is that you do, is you have to take action, and you have to realize and prove to yourself that you can do whatever that skill is. If it's business coaching, if it's playing guitar in front of somebody, if you're a stand-up comedian. Again, it just does not matter what it is. This works across the board. So before you can have confidence, you have to take action on whatever that skill is. You have to move forward. You have to be prepared to make a few mistakes, adjust, and realize, hey, you know what? It's not that bad. I'm actually really good at this. Or, you know what? I thought I was better at this. I'm just not. I need more practice, and I need to get in front of more people. I thought I would be good at cold calls and calling people, but it turns out I screwed that up big time. Like the last 5 calls sucked, and I just need to practice. That's where you're going to get confidence, by taking massive action. Because what a lot of people do is they take that little bit of action. They just put their toe in the water, and they say, oh, that's too cold. Hell with that. Not doing that again. And that's no way to gain confidence. That's no way to master a skill and move on to abundance. You have to jump in and realize, damn, this is cold, but I'm in it now. And you know what? My body's heating up, and I'm getting better. I'm acclimatizing to the environment. That's the same thing with any other skill. You jump in, you realize that it wasn't as bad as you initially thought it was going to be, because if you just put a toe in it, you're just going to get that first no, and you're going to stop. You're going to go out on the stage with the guitar, you're going to get booed, and you're going to stop. Well, you're not that good yet. You haven't had a chance to get out there and take those boos and take that feedback. That's feedback. That's positive feedback. Now, it might have been done in a negative way, and it was kind of rude, uncalled for, but it's still feedback, and you can work with that feedback. You can't work with not otherwise having that feedback. So taking massive action, which will get you to the third element, which is confidence. Once you have taken action, and massive action, then you're going to gain the confidence to be able to go out and know that you can do whatever it is that you need to do. So if your goal is to master sales, or your goal is to master whatever skill it is that you do on the job, or even if your goal is to speak at the next PTA meeting, the confidence that you get from consistent, massive action is going to make you feel more comfortable each and every time that you do it. It's at least going to give you the confidence to know, hey, I can do this. I've done it before. I have the skill, and I can move forward, and I can do this. Now, if you ever take a pause in whatever it is that you're doing, like if it's sales or if it's speaking or whatever, it's kind of not like riding a bike. You do fall off. You lose that skill, you lose that edge. So my advice to you in this regard in taking massive action and gaining confidence is to never stop. Always be doing something that's keeping you sharp in that skill so that you can keep your confidence up. Because if you take a couple months, a year off or so, and you try to go back to it, you're going to have to regain the confidence in that again. It's one of those things that are just hard to explain. Just understand, I know this in my own life, even with podcasting, even with public speaking, even any skill that I did. If I ever took time off, then I have to gain the confidence back to go back into it, to really kind of get in the right state of mind. And I have to put myself in a state and say to myself, look, I've done this before. I was very good at it. I'm going to start it up again. And here we go. And just jump into it. It's going to be a little bit rocky, but guess what? You're going to bounce back much quicker. You're going to remember and pick it up, and your skills are going to come back much quicker than they did from when you first started those months or even years later. All right, so once you gain the faith in yourself, enough faith to take action, and then that action evolves into just massive confidence in yourself that you can master a skill, it kind of rolls back to consistently taking more action, consistently doing what it is that you want to do to master. Now, I've read and I've seen, you've probably seen it before, it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. It takes about 2 years to get a master's degree, and I don't know that you spend 10,000 hours during that time frame if you're taking, I don't know, maybe a couple classes a week or a semester, whatever, to get a master's degree, but I don't believe it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill, especially depending on, one, what the skill is. I mean, hell, I could probably get on Guitar Hero for about a week and master Guitar Hero if I really just sat down and did it, a couple hours a day. I wouldn't need 10,000 hours for that. But if I wanted to actually master the guitar and learn music and master a couple songs, then I wouldn't really consider that mastery because I could play a couple songs well, but it would take a lot longer for me to master an actual guitar. So just kind of consider that when you figure out what it is that you're trying to master, what skill you're trying to master. Public speaking, sales, it really doesn't take much. It takes a couple really good mentors, a really good coach to show you the ropes and show you the way to talk to people, and then just practice it several times. I don't think it would take 10,000 hours to master that skill. Now, some would say that you have not mastered a skill until you get paid for that skill. I don't totally agree. There is a difference between amateur sports and pro sports, but that doesn't make pro players that much better than amateur players. Now, I know some of you are falling out of your seat right now and saying, oh, that's a bunch of BS, but the bottom line is this. There are some amateur players that are very good that don't go pro because they don't want to go pro. It's not really their passion to go pro, but they're very good. I don't want to get on that whole soapbox, but I think you get my point. You can master a skill and be amazing at it, and just choose not to get paid, because some people believe that if I get paid in something that I master and I enjoy doing, then it's going to ruin all the magic for it and I'm not going to enjoy it as much anymore. There's some truth to that. But the bottom line is this. You can master a skill, and then as I was talking about earlier, same with confidence, you can lose your edge in that skill. So you have to be consistent, whether it takes 10,000 hours or it takes a couple days. The bottom line is you have to have the faith in yourself, take action to gain the confidence, and then take more action to master that skill, but you're taking a higher level of action. You're taking a level of action that is actually a little bit higher. It's higher on the difficulty scale. So for instance, riding a bike. Your kid can start out riding a bike 5 or 6 years old, and they're just riding down the street kind of wobbly. Next thing you know, a couple years later, they're riding down a little ramp. And then a year after that, or maybe even a couple months after that, if they're anything like my boys, they're dropping in off of a 15, 20-foot ramp. And then they're jumping other ramps, and then they're twisting the bike around and doing all kinds of other crazy stuff. Each time you're taking it to the next level. And in order to go that ultimate mastery level, one thing I would highly recommend, of course, you knew it was coming, is you absolutely have to have some sort of a coach or a mentor that's there to watch what you're doing and show you the ropes and show you what works best in the industry or whatever it is that you're doing. And that brings us to the fifth element, which is abundance. Once you gain the faith in yourself, and for some people, not for everybody, but for actually more than you would imagine in my experience, it takes some people to hire a coach, and there's accountability coaches out there, but to hire somebody or even to get around in a group of men or a group that's doing what you want to do so that they can encourage you, because some people have more faith in you than you have in yourself. Just like with your kids, you have more faith in your kids of their abilities than they have in themselves in many cases, and same thing with your employees and so on and so forth, right? So in either case, regardless of how you do it, you gain the faith in yourself to take the action, to gain the confidence, and then more action, more higher level action to master the skill. And then the way you transition from mastery to abundance is you start sharing your knowledge with other people. Rather it's paid, or you're just going out and you're going to the school, you're volunteering at the school, you're volunteering in the community, and you're teaching or sharing those skills with other people. Now there's some overlap here between mastery and abundance, because you can also master the skill by teaching others. You know, there's a saying I've heard many times, and I've said it myself for years. You only know a skill to the point that you're able to teach it to somebody else. That's when you start moving into mastery, is teaching, starting to teach somebody else and bringing somebody else along. But in order to create an abundance of resources in your life, then that's when you start paying it forward and you start sharing it and teaching on a much larger scale. You know, I was driving down the road a couple weeks ago, coming back from Disney or something like that, and my 9-year-old sitting in the back of the car, and he was playing on one of his game pads or something, and all of a sudden he just asked this question: "Dad, what's it take to be a billionaire?" Now, I'm not a billionaire. In fact, I'm not even a millionaire. We just live a pretty damn good life because I got my stuff together, quite frankly, financially and any other way. So here's what I told him. Straight basics. I mean, there's a lot of mindset involved. There's a lot of dues to be paid. But the bottom line is this: you figure out a problem and you solve that on a massive scale. I mean, massive scale. And you solve that in many other ways. And then you find another problem and you solve that one on a massive scale. Then you find another problem and you solve that one on a massive scale. If you look at any billionaire out there, they've got multiple streams of income, owns multiple business. I think Tony Robbins owns 25 different businesses, but he's got his hands in over 40 different businesses that he somehow has his money or hands or thought process in or something like that. Any billionaire out there has that, and they solve multiple problems on a massive scale. Same thing with a millionaire. So I share that with you because it's kind of the same thing with abundance of resources. You have to contribute to a lot of people. Zig Ziglar was quoting and saying, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. And this is where it all comes full circle, because abundance starts with a mindset, which goes right into the faith that you have in yourself to take the action, to gain the confidence, and then take more detailed and a higher level of action to master the skill, and then help other people master the skill, or at least learn the skill, teach others, contribute to others, and along the way practice the glue that holds all of this together. You have to enjoy the process and be grateful in what you have and who is in your life today. You have to enjoy the process and be grateful in what you have and who you have in your life today. You cannot master a skill that you hate doing. If you don't like doing it, you're not going to get up in the morning to master it. You're not going to do the work it takes to master it. You have to enjoy the process. Even if it's a skill that's grueling, if it's running ultra marathons, you have to figure out a way to enjoy the process. And there's always a way to enjoy the process, guys. You just have to figure what that is for yourself. Figure out what that is for yourself, whether it's running ultra marathons or just getting up to go to work. So the next step, guys, is I would love to hear what skill it is that you want to master. You can do that by, one, going to Himalaya, which I mentioned earlier, the Himalaya app. You can comment on this episode. Really cool. I love that feature. You can comment on this episode and share what skill it is that you want to master, or are currently mastered, or have already mastered. So I'll tell you now, the skill that I have mastered, I've mastered many skills over my life, but the skill I'm proud of today that I've mastered is business and life strategies. Absolutely mastered this, man. I freaking got it down. And my new purpose in life, outside of spending every other weekend at Disney or traveling with my family, is helping business owners improve their marketing. I'm talking not just by a little bit, I'm talking massively improve their marketing by 50 to 80%. and increasing their revenue and profits through business strategies that most never even think of. Now, I know you're great business owners. I know you guys are awesome at what you do. You're awesome plumbers, electricians, chiropractors, dentists, you name it. But many of you are not great at business. You're just following along with what the rest of the industry is doing. I'm going to push you past your industry in your area. Here's what I want to do. I need your help. I would love to have a 45-minute business breakthrough session with you, and instead of charging you for that session, all I want is your professional feedback on how three of my top 8 strategies would impact businesses in your industry. And I assure you, you will walk away from that 45-minute business breakthrough session with skills and strategies that you will be able to implement that day to improve your revenue and your profits within your business. But on top of that, just for sitting down with me and sharing with me your professional feedback, I'm going to give you a 30-day access to my e-learning platform where there are hundreds of strategies done for you, marketing, email campaigns, you name it. It's all in there on 150 different industries. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm in the process of writing the next edition of my book, No BS Business Breakthrough, and any articles leading up to the book. I'm also going to be writing an article in the Six Figure Coaching magazine. So for that book and follow-on articles, I need more case studies. So I want a case study from industries I haven't currently worked with, or industries I've worked with but just not in certain areas within the United States. So if you'd like to help me out and get some strategies that you can implement in your business right away, then go to menofabundance.com/help Wally. That's WALLY/help Wally. At that link, you will find a short video from me and a button where you will be able to book your 45-minute business breakthrough session with me. And please do that sooner or later, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be jumping on there, and I want to get these case studies right away. If any of this information has been helpful to you, make sure you share it in your circles, but don't judge. You never know who this information is going to impact. Somebody's going to come back and thank you for sharing Men of Abundance with them, and specifically this episode. So be abundant in your actions today.